Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review for you all. This movie is a horror film from Germany, German language English subs, released in the year 2018, directed by Tillman Singer, and this film is called LUZ. So LUZ is set in Germany. We have a cab driver named Luz. She is a Chilean lady, and she walks into a police station because she has a story to tell. The story concerns a woman that went missing a few years ago. It was actually her friend, and the more she actually tells the police this story, the more the police realise there's more to Luz than they first thought, and now the situation is about to get way out of hand. So what happens at that point on is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on LUZ. I actually had this movie in my library for such a long time, but I never really got around to watching it. When I saw the trailer and I saw the synopsis, I thought, alright, it's intriguing, but it just didn't capture my interest enough to actually make me want to go out there and see it before other movies. There are other movies that really grab my attention, and therefore this movie has really floated under my radar for such a long time. But the reason why I wanted to watch it very recently is because Tillman Singer is the director. Tillman Singer directed a film called Cuckoo. Everyone's going on about Cuckoo, how crazy it is, how fun it is, and so I'm really looking forward to the release of that film. It comes out here very early next year in Australia, so I had my fingers crossed that was going to be a really good movie. But in the meantime, I realised that Tillman Singer directed LUZ, and it being in my library, I thought, alright, well now I'm going to take the opportunity to watch it, and I was hoping that this was going to be a platform, a stepping stone to come into Cuckoo, something that was somewhat of a taste tester and actually get me excited even more for this movie coming out. So having my fingers crossed, but having hesitations based on the fact that not a lot of people talk about LUZ, I was hoping that this movie would at least be worth my time. And after watching LUZ, I will say that I was really disappointed with this movie. Disappointed because of the fact that it should have been a lot better than it was, because there are likeable qualities that this movie has, and the biggest likeable quality is the unconventional way of storytelling and the unconventional visual style that this movie has. If you are a fan of 70s Grindhouse, if you are a fan of Giallo, you're going to really like the way that Tillman Singer produces his vivid nightmare on screen. If you like your unconventional way of storytelling, storytelling that doesn't hold your hand, you're going to like the way that LUZ goes about its business, is because it's telling it through flashbacks, but flashbacks in a very creative way. And I can see a lot of people getting offside by that, but for me, in a world of generic remakes, ideas that are just non-existent, when you come across directors like Tillman Singer, who's daring to be different, that's definitely something that needs to be applauded. So the whole film has a very strange vibe to it. It really is the personification of a panic attack. This is a film where the soundtrack is very, very jarring, and it complements the acting performances on screen. I thought the script was very, very odd, and the characters and the way that they go about, the body language is all very, very strange, and so that sense of panic is there because it's an otherworldly sort of vibe that Tillman Singer manages to create. So it's a very, very tense atmosphere that I actually thought was really well done, and the impressive style suggests that this is a film that didn't have a massive budget but used its budget in a very, very intelligent way. And so having a bigger budget in Cuckoo, I'm really excited to see what Tillman Singer can produce in that film. So there were some somewhat memorable moments in this movie, but unfortunately the film's biggest issue is it's an exercise in self-indulgence. This is a movie that is way too full of itself, and it really gets in the way. So it's made its point basically, but it keeps lingering on that point. It wants to show off its camera angles. It wants to show off that it's a different film, to the point where it becomes very frustrating and noticeable. So if you just say, for example, you've made a joke, it's a very funny joke, but you keep repeating it, it's going to lose its impact. And this is exactly the visual style that this movie has. At the start, it's very impressive. At the start, it's very menacing, but then after a while, it's so full of itself that you start to become very frustrated. It starts to lose its impact. And for a movie that only goes for 70 minutes, it actually feels like it goes for 3 hours. So it suggests that maybe this is a movie that had 20 minutes of content, but it just didn't know how to be a feature film, so it was going to drag everything out. It's going to have art house sort of feel to it, to the point where you know that it is just being very pretentious. And unfortunately, movies in this category are very pretentious, but a lot of that pretentious qualities from directors can be handled, but unfortunately Tillman Singer can't really handle it because it just becomes very, very boring. So the unconventional way of storytelling at the start was actually a novelty, but then, as I said, everything that the movie has going for it in a positive light, because it's been used and used and used and used, it loses its impact by the end of the film, and at the end of the day it just becomes a massive letdown. It just becomes a bore, and I couldn't wait for the final minutes to actually approach. And being a 70-minute movie, that is definitely a problem, because it's very difficult to do that. And so I just felt as though this should have been a short film, but then Tillman Singer has changed his mind and said, let's make it a feature, but they just didn't know how to make it a feature, because it just didn't have the contents to actually go and get to the finish line. And so As far as production, as far as creating a vivid style is concerned, I thought this was actually quite impressive, but unfortunately it's just the lack of depth to the story, lack of depth to the characters and everything going on that really gets in the way. It becomes very, very noticeable, and in the end just becomes a very mediocre horror film. So it's not a very scary film. It is very confusing. As I said, I like that confusing aspect, but unfortunately, as I said, when you have very limited ideas and you're using those ideas over and over and over for an hour, it does become very tiresome, and unfortunately LUZ is one that I wouldn't recommend. So overall, I'm going to give this one 1.5 stars. Very disappointing, hoping that Cuckoo was better. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.